Hello, my name is Georgia Lindsay, and welcome to the 2023 KTM SX launch. Now, in the world of motocross and supercross, the last 2 decades have seen a wash of orange on the top step of the podium in the world's biggest races and series. KTM SX has taken 13 of the last 18 of the 250cc world titles, 31 titles being taken since 2000, and 4 MXGP world titles since 2012. Now, indoors, 5 of the last 8 championship titles in Supercross have been taken on the 450 SX. Ready to race is not just a slogan, but it's the words that KTM live by, driven by innovation, performance, and letting the bikes out on track do the talking. Today, I am proud to announce the innovation and the evolution of the new motocross bike. And joining me for this special occasion is a man who has been integral in the development and performance off the track, but especially on the track. Multi-time winner in Supercross and Motocross, Ryan Dungey.
Thanks, Georgia.
Well, I'm so glad to have you here. Welcome.
I'm excited to be here.
Great to see you, but it's been a long time since we've seen you racing on track. So what have you been up to?
You know, I've been riding a decent bit. Got some time in California. Actually, out of Glen Helen, I got a chance to ride this new 450 model, and I'm really impressed about it. So excited to be here to share more about it.
Well, we know Glen Helen is a super rough track, but what are the modern and the new production bikes like?
They're just, today, the equipment is just next level. It's so much closer to a factory level racing bike. And for me, especially getting on these things, you can tune it up, you can adjust the power, the suspension, everything. And just the rideability and the control is next level. It's amazing.
Well, we know that obviously you're Ryan Dungey, multi-time champion. What is it that takes to have that winning edge?
I think the biggest thing is you just can't settle. You always got to be advancing forward. You always got to, you know, from every angle, working with the team, testing, the development of the bike, working on the physical, the mental side. If you get a little lazy in that area, the competition catches up and you fall behind really quick.
Now, back in 2012 was when you moved to KTM. Quite a shock to the industry, but what made the decision for you?
You know, in the beginning, the thing that sold me in the talks with them was their commitment, them willing to do whatever it took in every area. So knowing if we were gonna run into a problem, we were gonna be able to fix that quickly. A lot of people thought it was career suicide, but in due time, in short time, you know, we were able to get our first win, first title, and many championships after that. And just their method has just been proven to be a successful one. So it's been amazing.
What makes a champion? The crowd? The arena? The lights? Champions are made far from the crowds, where they can focus on what really matters. Never resting, always searching for more, while the competition rests.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is now without further ado that I can introduce to you the 2023 KTM SX. Ryan, take it away.
All right.
It is the next evolution of motocross dominance. The bike is brand new, but as far as KTM is concerned, nothing has changed. It is the same goal, the same intention, and the same motivation. And this bike is the most technologically advanced production bike to date. So, a brand new chassis. The frame, subframe, bodywork, seat, color scheme, linkage, shock, switch cubes, and tool-free suspension adjustment. With the 2-stroke, they've got all brand new engines with electronic start, fuel injection, and electronic power valve. And with the 4 strokes, they've got the new quick shift feature and cylinder heads. Now, that's all the technical stuff, Ryan, but what does it really mean for the riders?
So basically that means this is a high-performance dirt bike designed for a wide range of riders to get on it and go fast.
Right, let's go through all of that, find out what it means. Let's check out Get Serious with Dungey.
Thanks, Georgia. So we'll break it down from here. Number one, before the start, it's important to put in the preparation. Number two, when the gate drops, it's important to start strong. Number three, that first lap can be really wild, so it's important to stay calm under fire. Number four, get in a rhythm and be confident in hitting the big stuff. And number five, lap after lap, it's important to maintain that race pace right up to the checkers. So before the gate drops, it's all about the hard work and the preparation that you've put in to get there. A dirt bike that's properly set up is the perfect match for a rider who means business every time going to the starting line.
And the new bike, it starts off with the proven geometry that really optimizes that perfect rider triangle. And they've managed to enhance this using the ergonomics, the materials, the grip, the contact points.
To be able to move freely on a dirt bike is really important. It makes the rider feel comfortable. And simply put, if a rider feels comfortable, he's going to go faster. And you talked about that rider triangle. That's something we worked so hard on the factory level to maintain. This bike having that gives it the right fit and feel and that much more comfort out on the track.
So setting the bike up yourself can be tough without a mechanic, but what makes it so much better on the new bike is it's easy. You've got quick access spring clamp for your sag adjustment and tool-free clicker adjustment front and back.
Yeah, and I love that, by the way, because I like to mess around with the clickers, maybe a little too much, but at the track, the conditions, depending on what they are, I can fine-tune it, click it in a little bit, get the bike set up properly, and it's really the perfect fit and perfect scenario.
So you're going to really love the new Air Fork design. It makes it super easy to change for your ability and track conditions. Beneath the rider, we've got the reshaped subframe, seat, airbox, and bodywork.
Yep, so these riders, what it's going to help with is give them precise control, whether standing or sitting, of the bike. So when they're standing, because of the design and the narrowness, they're able to get a really good grip and feel of the bike. And when they're sitting, they're not going to slide off the back. It's going to help them stay center in the bike, which is really important. And even in the corners, when their legs out, you can maintain that grip and that strength because of the narrowness of the shrouds. And it just really helps these riders in the comfort side, too.
And along with all of that, it's really cleaned up the management of all the cabling that's underneath the seat, and also the battery mounting is under there as well. And below that, we've got the airbox and the snorkel.
Correct. So when these guys are wide open on the gas, the airbox is like a vacuum of air running through there. And the models before, that airbox would actually collapse a little bit and rob horsepower. And now with the new design, that airbox maintains its integrity in that shape. So when these guys are wide open, that's maximum airflow, maximum horsepower. And even right here, the bike gets a little bit more air here as well. So more air, more power. So it's really good package.
Now we also have the all-new switch cubes. On the 4-stroke, you can change between the quick shift, the traction control, launch control, and also switch your maps all while you're riding. But on the 2-stroke, there's also the ability to change between 2 maps.
Yeah, it's a game changer for 2-strokes. I mean, you don't have to mess with jets anymore. You don't have to change the power valve depending on the weather and all sorts of things. It's just the flick of the switch. You know, one map's more aggressive. If something's tighter, supercross track, let's say, you can get in and out of those corners a little quicker. And then you can also adjust it to the mellow one if the track conditions are rough or the conditions are muddy. So it's real simple, real nice.
They're all amazing advantages that are new on the bike, but I think one of the best that people are going to love is the 2-stroke electric start.
Yeah, there's nothing better than the electric start. If you tip the bike over or stall it, pick it up, push the button, off you go. Super simple. The place you can pass the most riders in a race is on the start straight. My KTM factory bike was always a rocket ship off the line, which put me in a really good spot to manage races. Now you can get great starts too.
See, KTM is renowned and world famous for its class-leading performance. And it's fine-tuned for 2023, and they're more focused on the ease of use, but also the power delivery. Now, this must make it a lot easier for riders of all abilities.
It does. It's much more manageable. Now, it's important for a bike to make good peak power, but you also need that good mid-range power, and this is what this model has. It helps these riders manage the bike much better, manage the power, helps make it available for a wider range of riders, and just gets that power to the ground a little bit nicer, a little smoother, so they can drive a little harder off the gate.
So the main improvements for the 4-stroke is the new head design. We've got the enhanced performance, better torque curve, but also the improved throttle response.
Yeah, throttle response is really important because sometimes you might find yourself in sticky situations. It's gotta be right there to get in and out of it. So you want that connection, and it's a really smooth connection too, and a good response. Not too much, not too little, but just perfect.
Well, with all of that power, it's got to go to some good use, and the best use is the launch control, traction control, and the quick shift.
So what the launch control does on the line before you take off, these guys can just focus on holding the throttle wide open. They don't have to be as precise with the clutch. You can kind of dump it, so to speak, and get off the line, and makes it easy to use. The traction control just allows the tire from not slipping, get that power to the ground, driving forward. And then the quick shift, you don't even have to pull the clutch in. You can just start shifting gears and not worry about a thing. And just really helps these riders get to the first turn first.
Big news for 2023, Ryan, is the two-stroke. So we've got the highly effective and powerful electric power valve and fuel injection. And it comes in 125, 250, and 300.
A 300. Wow, I'm excited that they have a 300 stock model. Is it premix gas?
Same premix, but there's no complicated mixing system, which is perfect. And it runs perfectly on all terrain and altitudes.
Gosh, that's amazing. I can't tell you. When we were on minis, my dad, he spent hours jetting our bikes, me and my brothers. And only to find out it was raining the next morning, had to rejet them. So this is gonna save a lot of people some time.
So the EFI adapts best to suit conditions, and it's controlled by the ECU by sensors, and it measures the air temperature, internal pressure, ambient air pressure, RPM, and the throttle position.
So this thing's gonna run crisp and clean every single time.
Yeah, exactly. And the central part of a two-stroke is that front pipe. This year, KTM have actually moved it, and it's more compact and tucked in on the front of the bike, less likely to get damaged.
Yeah, so once you get past that start straight, because it's tighter, like you're saying, that exhaust, you're not gonna catch it on the ruts as much, and you're not gonna bang it up as much either. So it's a win-win pretty much for the riders.
So Ryan, we know your bike was a rocket ship, but for 2023, the new key features on this bike, what does it mean as a package?
Well, these riders don't have to worry about getting a bad time or a bad gate pick. These bikes are just as fast as my factory bikes were back in the day. And now they have all these tools and features that they can apply. And so when they're sitting on the line, they can focus on themselves, get off to a good start, and still get the job done. The first laps for any rider can be chaos, but it's important to stay calm and maintain control of the dirt bike as you apply that high level of intensity.
I mean, talking about all the intensity, with intensity, you need control, and that starts really at the feet, the foot pegs.
It does. You know, that's the first point of contact. If you need to make a change or have that input, that's where it all starts.
And with this new bike, I mean, we've got a larger surface area on these foot pegs. Surely that's great for the rider.
It is really good. You know, it allows the rider to put his feet where he needs to, have more options where to put his feet, but also just in different scenarios, if he's got to make a change or bike direction, he'll have more option to do so.
And so not only is there a larger surface area, but they're kind of tucked in lower and kind of more central to the bike. So does that make control easier?
It does. And how they're kind of tucked in a little bit will allow the riders to grip the dirt bike a little bit tighter. And that's where it's all gonna start. So if they gotta change direction, rider goes down in front of them, that's where the input is gonna start, and they can turn on a dime. And you gotta be able to put the bike where you want it.
If you're moving up, we've got the innovative material on the seat, the shrouds, the subframe, the frame, so grip. I mean, that's just another thing for control, isn't it?
Right, and that just allows the riders to move around the dirt bike freely, whether they're sitting, need to get up in the standing position. It's like human Velcro.
Yeah.
Without being stuck to it, you can really plant yourself and put yourself on the bike where you need to be in different situations.
So we've got those two new features for 2023, but also we've got the brand new subframe here. So this is a hybrid. We've got the aluminium and the composite. So what does that mean for the rider?
Yep, so in years past, it was all aluminum.
Right.
And that's gonna make a really harsh ride. A lot of direct feedback to the seat. So this composite softens that up. It takes away that feedback from the bumps, gives a little bit more comfort, but still braced heavily with the aluminum.
So you've got the flex, but it's still as strong.
Correct, absolutely.
Right, so now we can complete this rider triangle we've been talking about with the handlebars.
Yeah, this is that rider triangle we've talked about a lot, right? But we've maintained that in this model. It's something personally I've loved when we were racing, and I'm really happy we're sticking with it.
That's what's great, isn't it? You've proven you like the way the handlebars are, but of course, KTM are improving it for 2023, and we've got the rubber inserts on the bar mounts, but they can also be removed if needed.
Yep, so what that's gonna help with is when you're on the outdoors, right? It's really rough. You're gonna wanna kind of take that edge off, and that's where those rubber bar mounts are gonna help. Just kind of soften that dampening a little bit. For track, personally, for a supercross track, you can easily take them out. And so if you want more direct steering, a little more precise control, give up a little bit of comfort, but it's supercross, that's where you're probably gonna want to take them out at.
So that's our new and improved rider triangle there, but moving down further to the, the mass of the bike, the engine's actually been rotated about 2 degrees backwards. So that's centralized the mass and the weight. Is that more balanced?
Yes, the engine just carries a lot of inertia and crank weight, so it can affect the handling. And this year they've done a great job. Just being able to make this change really helps with the handling. The engine works with the rider in the dirt bike versus working against him.
Okay. So moving down from that as well, we've got the new manufacturing of the swing arm, which gives, precise flex characteristics, and that works in tandem with the new shock concept as well.
Yeah, these tracks develop and get gnarly. This is where this is really going to come into play. It's going to help with precision, control, and confidence. As the tracks get rougher, it's important to maintain your rhythm, but it's also important to have confidence while hitting the big stuff.
And with that being said, we've got the all-new front fork hydro stop. So it's now been extended from 10 millimeters up to 40 millimeters. And that last bit of fork stroke, it kind of gives it more progression, doesn't it?
It does. That progression is going to give these riders confidence because when they're hitting triples, over jumping stuff in Supercross, landing on tabletops, it's going to have that progression and it's going to settle much quicker. You don't want something that's blowing through.
And to go with that, we've got the all-new shock as well. We've got new pistons, new internals, new shock body, but that's just generally all improved.
It has. I got the opportunity to ride this bike, and I was really impressed with this shock. It was really stable, really compliant, and the balance was really nice.
And with that, it's all working in tandem together, but we've got the anti-squat behavior. That's kind of been improved, isn't it? But what exactly is the anti-squat behavior?
It's kind of as it sounds. When these guys are on the gas and they're wide open, it puts a lot of power to the rear wheel, which wants to suck the rear down.
Right.
So this helps it stay in a better spot, keeps the shock open and free to absorb more bumps, but there's also a lot more drive through the rough stuff as well.
So where are the key places on a track that anti-squat's going to really help you?
The couple spots that come to mind is in the turns. When these guys are driving out of turns, there's usually a lot of chop. And so when there's a better positioning, the shock's in a better spot, these guys are, there's much more comfort and they're able to drive off the corner and the bike's more settled. That's a good positive, as well as when they over-jump stuff, right? And having the confidence to over-jump stuff. It's gonna settle much quicker, it's gonna recover, so these guys can get back to the ground, back on the gas. That's where time's gonna be made.
Well, that's the front forks and the shock covered, but brand new for this year is the whole frame.
Yeah, I gotta say, I've been really impressed at how innovative KTM has been at just taking these bikes to the next level.
Seems like they've really focused on the energy transfer throughout the frame and how it can kind of distribute that force, because obviously it's riding a dirt bike.
It is, but this is gonna make the bikes much more predictable and consistent out there on the racetrack.
So KTM have done this in two ways, really. Firstly, let's go take a look at the frame. They've really stiffened up this headstock.
They did. They reinforced this much more, which is going to bring a lot of stability, especially to the front end of the motorcycle.
And this, brand new for 23, the shock mount. It's in a completely different place, no longer on the spine.
Exactly, and so before, a lot of the energy went right into this head tube. But now that energy is dispersed multiple different ways, so it allows the forks and the shock to work independently, which all these chassis improvements is going to allow you, the rider, to have the confidence to hit that big, gnarly stuff. Putting in a fast lap is one thing, but doing it for the whole race is an entirely different story. Here we're going to talk about how to maintain that race pace all the way to the checkers.
So you've survived lap one. You've managed to get away from the chaos, but unfortunately, that's not where it ends, is it, with racing? Not everything goes to plan,
Right.
But KTM have really tried to keep you on the bike, and the main thing they've changed is that subframe.
Yeah, so before it was all aluminum, and if you'd have a big crash, that aluminum is going to stay bent, and it's unrideable. And so now with this new composite hybrid, it's going to bend, but it's always going to come back to retain its shape pretty close, so you can get back on the bike and ride it. Nothing worse for a rider when you go down and you're okay, but the bike is mangled, you can't finish, you lost points, and it's a tough thing to accept.
And it's the same thing for the bar mounts, isn't it?
Correct. So the bar clamp, it can take a lot more of an impact. I mean, we never know how hard we're going to crash, unfortunately, but to know it can take more of a force, that's a positive.
Well, let's move to the underneath of the bike here and talk about ruts.
Yep.
Now, what does, firstly, Ryan Dungey really think about ruts?
Yeah, not too highly of them. They make your job harder, but you got to face them inevitably. And the couple things that KTM have done is the way the foot pegs sit in a little bit more and how they fold up. There's less catching of the ruts, but also the ground clearance. The linkage tucks up a little bit more, so you don't catch as more as well. So as hard as ruts are, this is going to make it easier for the riders to get through them.
So we've kind of covered how the bike reacts on the track, But now how about the bike reacting with us on the bike? The other things that they've helped is the energy transfer, really, in the frame, the shock mount, the fork, the bar mounts. What does that mean for you jumping on that bike?
Well, the end result is just an easier bike to ride. You can put more of your energy into thinking about other things, the track, and not to mention it's gonna take less energy to go faster. So one, you can go faster, push all the way to the end with that high intensity.
And heat. When you're racing dirt bikes, you're gonna be getting hot. And we don't perform well when we're really, really hot. However, nor do bikes, nor does suspension.
Yeah, so the shock is one of the things KTM did a really good job with reducing the friction and the heat buildup. It's inevitable, but with this new design, it's gonna really help these riders maintain that performance or push hard with keeping that performance in the shock that they're looking for all the way to the finish. So there you have it. KTM has done everything they can so you can push hard all the way to the finish.
So we've gone around all the keys of the race, but now let's look back at the bike again. So we've got the all-new frame, improved ground clearance, anti-squat chassis concept, new switches and functions, brand new bodywork, and the biggest update of our generation is, of course, on the two-stroke. Fuel injection, electric power valve, electric start, quick select maps, and of course, the brand new 300 SX model. Now you tie all of that together, Ryan, and what does that mean for you and for the riders out there?
I think it's the progression and the advancements that they made to each of these models. That it's gonna give these riders that edge that they need on the track to get the job done. And it just goes back to what KTM and their level of commitment, 100% committed. It's clear, nothing has changed.
And there you have it, the most advanced production bikes ever made.
Now it's your turn to go out there and get serious. Well, guys, stay tuned. Tell your friends. We'll be back more in the coming weeks with a series of videos of how to make the most of your 23 SX model.